My first two guests are civil rights activists featured in a documentary about sexual assault on campus called The Hunting Ground. It's in theaters now and premieres on CNN this fall. Please welcome Annie Clark and Andrea Pino. Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
Hi.
I never have two guests. Well,
are.
thank you very much for being here. Your documentary is fantastic. I hope everybody sees it. It's an important issue. Let's just start off by asking, why did you call it The Hunting Ground?
Yeah, so we weren't the only ones that had an opinion in this, but I think a very clear theme within the whole documentary is the fact that it's not just a mistake. It's not just sex gone wrong. You know, you have these.
You're talking about sexual assault on campus.
Yeah, exactly. You know, rape is definitely a premeditated crime, and these rapists can rape with impunity on campus.
Okay, so let's just go to the numbers first, because I think this is what's so shocking. There's two things that are shocking. This is the first one. What percentage of women, do the studies show, have been raped on campus?
Yeah, so the best statistics we have from the Department of Justice are between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted on campus. And that number is very high, and it has been disputed. However, if we were to even say that statistic's wrong, and it was 1 in 20 or 1 in 100, imagine if 1 in 100 students were shot, or 1 in 100 students had their Apple laptop stolen on campus, what would we be saying about that?
Right.
So it's not even an issue of the numbers, it's about the issue itself.
And I think the other shocking thing is that the colleges are so complicit in it. It reminded me, I have to say, of the Catholic Church.
It's the same.
It's the same thing, that the reaction is not to protect the victim. The reaction is to protect the institution. Why do you think that is?
Absolutely. I think it's the same thing you have in the military. You have sexual assault in the military,
Sure.
within the Catholic Church, within college campuses. You have institutions with no oversight who have the incentive to protect their reputation, to keep bringing in donor money, and have no real reason to protect the survivor.
That's a lot of it. There is nothing in America that cannot be touched and corrupted by money. And yeah, I mean, if a college gets a reputation for rape, they're going to have a hard time raising money. And it's a business. Colleges are a business, private business that wants to make money, right?
Well, it's a little hard to sell rape on a college brochure, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is America. So,
Well, actually, something I wish more parents and students understood is if you have a number of 0 sexual assaults, that either means your school's obviously underreporting it, or it means students aren't comfortable coming forward. So I think 0 sexual assaults reported should be a red flag, not something that they should broadcast.
And something like
brochures.
40% of colleges, right? I think if I remember right from the film, report 0%.
They don't have a rape problem there.
They don't have a rape problem. It reminds me of when the president of Iran says there are no gays in Iran.
Of course not.
Because
there apparently aren't any in North
because we
Carolina.
killed them. Okay. But also, what really was amazing to me, and I felt bad about it, I guess it shows how out of it I am, is a lot of what I saw in this movie, I would have thought was coming from the 1950s, like when someone reports a rape to counselors, people who you think would be sympathetic here in the 21st century. It was still a lot of, well, were you drinking that night? What were you wearing? A lot of the blaming of the victims, right?
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we have this cultural expectation that rape doesn't happen in safe places like college campuses, that,
Right.
the rapist can't have a Harvard law degree, but that's not the case at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I was also amazed that so many of the women in your movie said, as horrible as the rape was, what was worse was how I was treated after.
Absolutely. I think you hear that across the country. And that institutional betrayal, you go to your school, that the police, whomever you go to that is supposed to protect you, and then they betray you after something has, as awful as sexual assault has happened. Yeah, it's worse. It's re-traumatizing. And for me, it was worse.
All right, well, let's get to the happy part of this story. And there really is one, which is that you two basically, because you were ignored at your campus when you reported this, learned how to be lawyers. And you,
More or less.
you turned yourself into lawyers. And you won based on Title IX. Now, Title IX has been used for decades, usually about sports in schools, right? It basically says a woman has a right, everybody has a right to equal education. And you said, well, Yeah, but if I've been raped on campus, I don't have that right because I'm afraid to walk to a night class. I'm afraid to go out at night. I can't concentrate because the rapist is right in my classroom. And you're winning these cases, right?
Yeah, we are. So we're helping students across the country file Title IX complaints with the Department of Education. And what we're seeing is you have students that are 19, 20 years old taking on 200-year-old universities. And it's really inspiring. And I think it also sends a very clear message that if your school's not on that list that's being investigated, they're next.
Yeah. And just because... And just because they're not on that list doesn't mean they don't have a problem. It might mean they just haven't been called out yet. And what we're seeing, we have this collective action problem of university presidents not willing to step up and take ownership of this issue. Like you said, 40% of schools haven't, investigated a case, right? And I think it was only 6% of presidents who said this issue was prevalent on their campus. So nobody's willing to step up and say, we've done wrong in the past, but we're willing to work with you in the future. And so, the thing is too, it's not hard to file a Title IX complaint, and that's what I hope any student or young person watching realizes, is that they do have the right to a safe education, and they can do exactly what we did.